My previous Brigantine guide had such good response, and making a Galleon guide has always been in my plans. Since then, I've learned a lot from editing, and this guide might run a little different. Well, then I think it's time. Welcome to this episode of Know Your Ship. Today, we'll be talking about the Galleon. This is one of my favorite ships, and I'm going to teach you all I know so you can make the most out of this vessel. This is the largest ship we have, and there is nothing that can challenge a Galleon broadside. And if you have a competent crew, it can be devastating. A Galleon should be controlled by 4 pirates. If you're only 3, you're much better off on a brig. As I said earlier, this vessel is large, accompanied with 3 masts, 8 cannons and 2 harpoons. You can divide the Galleon into 4 different decks. The bottom deck, which contains nothing special, but is still the most important to keep repaired. Second deck, that contains all the good barrels, like wood, cannonballs and food. Down there we also have the map table, water barrel, cooking pans and wardrobe. The main deck mostly contains of cannons, anchor and harpoons. Last but not least, we have the topmost deck. This is where the wheel is, and is also where the helm spent most of their time. We will get to the roles later on. Before we dive more into details, it is time to address some of the strong and weak sides of the Galleon. Strong sides. The amount of cannons make a deadly broadside. The size of the ship make firing cannons more stable because the waves don't impact as much as they do compared to the sloop. Having 2 decks that fills up with water makes it slower to sink, but when you first hit that second deck, it can overwhelm even a skilled crew. Being 4 pirates means you stand stronger in most PvP situations. Even though loot on the events don't scale by the amount of players, time to move large amount of treasure is remarkably faster due to the crew size. Now let's go over some of the weak sides of the Galleon. Barrels are far away from the top deck where you actually need them. That's why you should always have a storage crate placed on the top of the stairs. Bucketing a Galleon efficiently requires good amount of skill. Running up the stairs with buckets take too long time and might be the reason why you sink. The turn speed is slow and you will often find yourself losing angle on smaller ships. Running the Galleon requires good communication. Not only to stay afloat, but for everyone to have a good experience. It is not fun being the only one that steers the boat and works the sails. Fire is the Galleon's worst enemy. As much as this should be dealt with immediately, if you're in a fight, it must not cost the pressure you're putting on the enemy ship. But if you let it spread too much, you will end up being a firefighter rather than a pirate. When sailing with face wind, the sail should be angled like this. It might seem a little weird at first, but that's just the mechanics in the game. If you're lucky enough to have the backwind, they should also be like this. You will hear this little sound. When you get that, you know that you caught wind in all sails. When engaging naval combat, you should always prefer the right side. This due to the middle sail always fall to the left and will block vision for the cannoneers. The Galleon can take a total of 31 holes, 16 in the bottom and 15 in the second floor. Because it's far away from the lower deck to the stairs, it is smart to start learning to build through the grid. This is how you should bucket out of the grid. Line up your bucket like this and throw water out. This is going to take some practice, and what you could do is put a little water down there. If you manage to get it dry, then you know you're doing it correct. Never patch a hole if you got water above your head. If that ever happens, bucket and call for help. When it comes to operating the ship, all the sails take the same amount of time to raise. Raising it alone takes 13 seconds. Raising it with a crewmate on the other hand takes only 5 seconds. This is the difference when raising the anchor. 1 pirate, 30 seconds. 2 pirates, 15 seconds. 3 pirates, 10 seconds. And 4 pirates, 8 seconds. As every other ship, you'll never know when you end up in a fight. It is smart to have some responsibilities divided throughout the crew. Since we're touching the topic, it is time to address the roles of the Galleon. This is how I would set up a Galleon crew. The helm keeps angle and patches wheel, patches back sail, and watch for borders, revive, and shoot cannons if all above is okay. The weapons I would recommend for the helm is either sniper pistol or sniper blunder. This due to sniping enemies that board and guard the ladders. Main cannoneer fires cannons, board and wipe out enemy pirates. The weapons I would pick for the main cannoneer is either sniper blunder or sword blunder. This due to a lot of deck combat. The flex patches mid and front sail, fires cannons, bucket and repair if needed, becomes the helm if the helm is dead. Weapons for the flex is a little more up to you what you prefer. Personally, I'm a double gunner, but I never underestimate the power of a good sword lord. Last but not least we have the bilge. Bucket and patches bottom and second deck. Fires cannon if all above is okay. The bilge should have blunder sword due to a lot of close quarter combat that will happen below deck. The wheel can take damage in 3 places, bottom, left and right. As every other ship, this should be first priority and should always be in good shape. The game gives us different sounds according to what's happening on our boat. This is the same on each ship, so here I recommend checking out my previous Brigantine guide. To demast the Galleon, you can either hit it with 3 cannonballs or 1 chain shot. When patching something, even if it's a sail or a wheel, try to keep cover so you don't get one bolt. The harpoons can as much as be used for loot, be a handy way to make quick breaks and turns. Remembering this when you are close to islands or fighting around rocks can give you a great advantage. Let's enter some more naval combat guys. First off, defending from borders. When you're fighting, it is very important to keep an eye out for borders. As we know from earlier, getting the anchor up on a galleon takes a long time. The galleon has long ladders, but it's sometimes hard to reach them in time as a helm. Therefore, it should be everyone's responsibility to listen for borders. When defending ladders, especially with the blunderbuss, you have to be patient. Shooting too early will give the enemy pirate free entry. And if you're unlucky getting anchored, don't catch it if there's still a border. 4v1 the enemy pirate instead. Chances are, if you try to catch the anchor, you will be shot in the back instead. If you board an enemy galleon, you should try to put their crate on the grid. This will make the bilge backsplash, making it a lot harder for them to bucket. Also, if you have time, turn their wheel all the way to one side. This way, when they raise the anchor, they will start spinning and have a hard time regaining angle. But on the other hand, when you're on your own galleon, never run across the grid. This will make your bilge backsplash, and that is not good. Being bilge, you should always communicate the situation with the rest of the crew, so everyone knows the pressure. The helm should continuously ask if the crew is hitting their cannonballs. This way, they can determine if a reset would be the best before it's too late. The boarder should always ask for permission before leaving the ship. The rest of the crew need to respond fast according to the situation. Flex have to respawn at no time. If the bilge needs a bucket, it is not after 2-3 cannonballs, it is now. When fighting, you should only sail with the backsail. This way you can turn a lot quicker. Also, if a cannonball or chain breaks your sail that is pulled all the way up, it is much faster to raise it back and patch it. If an enemy ship starts paralleling, put down another sail to try get in front of them. Cursed cannonballs like ballast ball, rigging ball and anchor ball are super effective against the galleon, as they acquire the whole crew to take action or else they sink. Not to mention the new scatter shots that can deal 4 holes at the same time. Using them close range can really change the game. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. See you on the seas.